All right. All right. Hold on. So let's continue where we left off. Let me see here. Share my screen with you. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. All right. So where we left off was on verse number 9. And where we're talking about, again, is this in particular time of these Shabbats that the Most High has designated for his people. And he told us that, after 49 years, on the 50th year, there's going to be what they call a Yuval, okay? And what he asked the children of Israel to do was to sound the shofar and to cause it. Now, to sound it here, they're using this word avar, excuse me. And avar means to pass over. Okay, that's what it means, to pass over or to cross over. So what he's asking them to do is to sound this shofar, which the sound I was playing before when we all came on. And what the shofar is it's a very distinct and it's a very beautiful sound. And he's asking them to do this on the 7th month, on the 10th day of that month, okay? And it's going to be the Day of Atonement. And this is on the 50th year. Okay. That's what he wants them to do. He wants them to make this sound, and across this sound, to have this sound travel, okay, throughout the whole entire land. So what it is that probably the Kohanim are the ones who sound it first. And then once they start sounding it, everyone else is supposed to sound it. So this in particular sound is supposed to resonate across the whole entire land of Yisrael. Now, why would the Most High use the shofar? Why do you guys think he's using the shofar? When's the first time that we've ever heard of a shofar? The first time that we've ever heard of a shofar sound is when the Most High had blown it at Mount Sinai. And that's the setting. Remember, the place where he's talking from is Mount Sinai, okay? Which is called Mount Korev, which is the place of the sword. Okay. The reason why it's a sword is because this is where he made the covenant. And what comes along with the covenant, what we'll find later on, is that this has to do with vengeance. And if we don't keep the covenant, then we're going to be looking forward to the sword. That often we don't really take the time to think about who we're in a relationship with. Okay. The one that we're in a relationship with is the creator of the heavens and the earth. Everything that you see, taste, smell, touch, handle. Okay. He's the one. But the shofar is pretty significant. And what's significant about it is that it's pointing to, and I have it right here for us to look at. I don't know if you can still see the screen. It is talking about this brightness. Let me see. Let me click right here right quick, get a full schedule, full screen. Oh, wow, I lost that. That's not cool. I don't even know what page I was on. Let me go back. Gotta go find it again. It's in a 28 something. Oh, I can save that 2869. Let me do that. 2869. All right, here you go. So our word that we're talking about is called the shofar. Okay. And it's an adopted root. So it's not something from a parent root, it's an adopted root. And what its action is to make something bright. Okay. And this is generally from what they would say a ram's horn. Okay. When Moshe came off of the mountain the second time he went up and he came down, his face was shining. And it looked like it was rays of light that was coming off of him, like as if he was a ram, like, because generally when you look at a ram, if you get it at a right angle, you would be able to see the light ricocheting off its horns. Okay. So this action is a bright or a beautiful sight. That's what a shofar means, or sound. It's beautiful, it's bright, and it, of course, is in the shape of a ram's horn. And a ram's horn is representing a leader. Okay. Also, too, what goes along with this sound and this brightness is to be cheerful, because that's what the sound of the shofar is supposed to do. It's supposed to make someone very cheerful and bright. Okay. Be very cheerful, very, goodly, pleasing, acceptable, to be cheerful. All right. And also, too, it has this idea of being beautiful. Okay. It's a very beautiful, and it's made with a ram's horn, like I said, and it's made into a trumpet, and it emits this very bright and beautiful sound. But what's interesting about this in particular vessel, or what you would say horn, is the fact that something has to go through it. Okay. And so what's going through the horn?
Breath.
Right. So breath is going through the horn, but the breath has to be, it has to continue to flow. That breath, that air has to go through it, and it has to flow. And if it doesn't flow, then you're not going to hear, it's not going to be a beautiful sound. Okay. So the idea of flow is even inside of the shofar. Earlier this week, we talked about this flow, this energy that the Most High has inside of the earth and everything that it's supposed to do. And there's this flow. So he's saying, like, when this time comes, what I want you to do is I want you to blow the shofar throughout the whole entire land in order to cause a flow of air. And that flow of air is saying something. And what it's saying is freedom. What I want is freedom to flow. That's what that sound is. And that's why it's so beautiful. And that's why it's so cheerful, because this is what the Most High intention is. And so I was tripping off the fact, and look at what he did here. On what day did he choose? He chose this to be done. He could have done it on any other day. He could have did it on a festival, but he doesn't. He does it on the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement for one's sins. Not intentional, those that are done on an accident, or those that are done inadvertently, where you don't even know that you did something. Okay. And so this is what this shofar sound is about. And that's why it's there, to remind us about there is a flow. So the flow is the freedom. So everything is flowing at this in particular time. Okay. Verse number 10, and he says, you're going to consecrate the year of the 50th, and you're going to proclaim it. So the 50th year has now been set apart, just like he is set apart. It's supposed to be on the 50th year. Okay. So that's, 5 10s, right? So, and then they're going to proclaim, and again, here, Doror, okay, Doror. And it says liberty right here, which has to do with freedom, right? But there's another definition that we should go over when we talk about this freedom. Let me see. Let me get my tool here. Verse number 10. Everyone, and it shall be a jubilee. Oh, here is liberty. Okay, door. Okay. What number is that? Okay. Number. Okay. 1089. What I'm doing is I'm having us always go back to the lexicon, the Hebrew lexicon, because in the Hebrew lexicon, what you can find is the true definitions of the words that we're looking at, because English doesn't do us any justice. Okay, we can get tricked, we can get fooled. So I know before going there, 1089 is going to be talking about a generation. Okay, that's what this is going to be talking about. Let's see here. 1089. Here you go. Okay. All right. So our word was doror, which comes from our root dar. Okay. And dar basically means, and they'll give us the explanation here. Of course, we all know that the letter dalet is a door. We know that for sure. Okay. Right here. It represents a moving back and forth. This resh, which is the head of a person or a man, when you combine these together, it means the back and forth movement of a man. Okay. In the Hebrew understanding, a generation is of one revolution of the family line. The Hebraic understanding of order is the continual cyclical process of life and death, or renewal and destruction. So these are the only things that how Hebrew people were looking at life and looking at the cycle of life. So the word dar, they're going to use it for what they would call the circle of life. And the circle of life has to do with generations. So generation and generation, you're going to have, in that circle, you're going to have life, and in that circle, you're going to have death. So a generation is literally a circle. Okay. It's a circle of the family. Okay. And so when he says that I want you to do this for a time of liberty, what he's saying is, what I want you to do is, I'm thinking about the generations to come. I'm thinking about the family. So when you have that life and that death that you're going to have, that's part of the cycle. So in your circle, your life might start right here. And through your life cycle, you may only make it to like right here for your death. But then within that time period, from here to here, we don't know how much time that is, you have the opportunity to recreate, okay, in order to continue the cycle. And it just goes on and on and on and on, okay? So also too, circle has to do with, here again, dancing, or birds when they fly in a circle, okay? So this generation to generation concept, not only is it about the life and death process, but it also mentions that it's about a renewal and a destruction process that's within the circle. Okay. So there's times, like I mentioned earlier this week, where one would say, it starts right here. It might be brand new, or it might be renewed. And then it goes to a point, and then it comes to ruin. Okay. So for us, this is going to be part of life. Okay. But also too, what Yah is saying within the generations, what he has done is he's put a provision inside of the Torah that allows somebody to not come to a complete ruin. Okay. Their family line, like you might become poor, at a certain point, but it doesn't mean that that's it for you. Okay. Because there's stuff in the Torah that talks about if a person is poor and he can't redeem himself, one of his family members can redeem him. Or if he gets rich, he can come and redeem himself. Well, how could he redeem himself? Because there was some opportunity found for him within that cycle. So being poor is not really a bad thing, because you have an opportunity to become rich, depending on what your life circumstances are. But the point of the 50th year is so we can continue the process of going around, so no one will come to ruin. Yah doesn't want you to come to ruin. He wants it to continue. He wants it to go, and here it is. You're renewed, and then at one point you lost something, and then all of a sudden we can start afresh, and we can start new again. And so I'm going to give you a time frame, and that time frame is literally 49 years. Because in the 50th year, that's what you're going back. You're going to be proclaimed to be set free. And so he's using the elements of a shofar that talks about the beauty and the sound and the flowing. He's also talking about this, about a circle, about the generations, because that's a continual flowing. It's a continual flowing of something. Here it is. Part B of the definition right here, darar, which we were looking at, that's our word. It says a circling around as a flight of a bird or a dance. Okay. Then they have another definition right here that says free flowing. It's a flowing. So what Yah is saying is, I want there to be a free flowing of wealth. I want your wealth to come back to you. And if I didn't put that provision in there, you could end up being ruined. So what does this mean for us? Because we always have to apply it, have some application. The application is this: Yah is not done with us. Yah is not done with us. We're just in a cycle. We're in a circle, and we're in a cycle, and we're part of that cycle. Okay? And what a circle doesn't end. There is no end to a circle. It just keeps going and going and going. All right. So that's what we could be happy about. And so our generations, this is what the Most High has promised us. He said that I'm going to make you as numerous as the stars, and your generation is always going to be. You're always going to have descendants. Okay. Especially if you're doing what I asked you to do. Okay. So lower that right quick and get back to any questions? Let me get back to say here. So I want us to understand that that's what we're talking about. The Most High is talking about a flow. That's what all this is about. It's about things coming and going, flowing. Okay. So the liberty there is, yes, it's liberty, is freedom, but it also too, it means that the cycle is going to continue. And so throughout this land, all the inhabitants of the Yovel, the Yovel is about flowing. That's about a flow. Okay. And we're going to talk more in, I'm going to give you more information about this. I'm going to go into more detail about this on Shabbat. Because if I try to do it right now, it's just not enough time, and I don't want to minimize it. Okay. So we're going to talk more about the Yovel or Yovel on Shabbat. But this in particular land and its inhabitants, the people who live there, are going to always exist. They're always going to return, each one to his akuzoth. Okay. So it's his possessions. Now, I want to be clear that several people in Israel were allocated land. Okay. What tribe did not receive any inheritance in terms of land?
Lewi.
Lewi. Okay. So Lewi doesn't get any land. Okay. For ownership. But what could Lewi get? What does Lewi get?
Yahweh.
Lewi is going to get Yahweh. Praise the mighty Yah. They're going to have a relationship with him because he says they are, I am their inheritance. Koti Pam, I'm going to answer your question in just a second. So we got, they're going to get that. They're also going to get fields. I want you to understand the fields that they're going to get. That's where they're going to be able to do their planting. They will get planting. And I'm going to show that to you in just a moment. Okay. So they're going to be able to get lands for planting. Okay. Or fields for plantings. They're also going to get cities. You guys remember how many cities they're going to get?
Is it 6?
Yes, they're going to get 6 cities for refuge. Okay. And they're going to get an additional 42 to live. Okay. So it's a total of 48 cities that they're going to receive. Okay. What else is the Levium going to receive from the people?
Don't they get some of the offering that the people make?
Yes, they're going to get the 10th. They're going to get the tithe of the land. So whatever everyone brings, they're going to get that. The Kohanim are the ones who get the, all the other stuff like the fleece, they get the meat and all this kind of stuff. Okay. The Leviim, they also have their own cattle. So this is the reason why the Most High gave them fields, because they have to do some cattling, and they have some sheep, and they have goats. They have all this too. Okay. So they have these things. So they're not without anything. All right. But they don't have as much as the children of Israel in that regard, but they do have the best, which is Yahweh. And they do get the tithe of the best. Okay. And all of their cattle and sheep and everything is kadosh. Everything that they deal with is kadosh. Everything. Okay. So they're a special family to the Most High. All right. So to answer your question, Akoti, it says, what other provision is there in the circle in addition to the wealth? The Most High is returning not only their wealth through their possessions, but he's also restoring the family. The family is being restored. Okay, so when we talk about family, we're talking about relationships. People that have been enslaved over the last, 49 years, that have been away from their family, away from their home, away from their house, away from their fields, away from all these different places. They have been scattered and they're all over the place. They have to be restored back to their family. Okay. And so the Most High says that everyone is going to return. They're going to shuv. This idea of shuving, I got to hurry up and do this so I can get done. The idea of shuv, right, which you get our Hebrew word shav from right here. Let me close this out. This right here also has this word here, shav, and shav means to turn around. Okay. And so you were going this way, and then the shuv means you turn around and go back the other way. So that's really a return, but it also could mean repent. That's what it means too. Okay. So we see that this 50th year is a time for shuving. It's a time for returning back to what? To be restored back to what you're restored back to your original state. So this is not on accident that the Most High is sharing this with us. He says, each to El to his akuzoth. Okay. So his akuzotho is his possessions. His possessions is his, and the Leviim also had houses. They had dwellings that belonged to them. Okay. So their main staples of things that they own were their house, their fields. If you were Leviim, if it's Israel, it's your land. Okay. And it says, not only go return to their possessions, but they're also going to return. Move this down and scroll down. Let me just get rid of this right quick. They're going to return to their mishpato, which is their family. Now, the thing is did the Most High, when they came to that land, what did they have? What did they go into the land with?
The possessions they got out of Mizraim.
Yep. And the ones that they got from the people that they fought and took their houses and all that kind of stuff and took their cattle. And, they had some female slaves. And, when they destroyed Bashan and king of Og, when they did those things. And so they had those types of possessions, but the possessions the Most High is talking about is your house and your fields, the things that you could be returned to you. So not only am I going to have you return to those things, but also too, every person is supposed to turn back to his mishpakato, his family. That's who you're going to touch shavu. You're going to go ahead and you're going to return back there too. So that's in your cycle, right? And so your Yovel, all right, it is the year of the 50th. Okay. So they're going to finish out their stint. Okay. But in the 49th year, that's a Shabbat year. So in the 49th year, what they're doing is preparing to go home. Often we get confused about when the Most High said the children of Israel were in the desert for 40 years. A lot of people think they went up to the 40, so 39, and then the 11th month, and then the 30th day. Then they thought that the children of Israel went in to the land on the year 40th. That's not true. That is not true at all. The Most High, when he talks about you're going to do 40 years, you're not doing 39 and then you get to 40. You're going to literally do the 40th year too. See? So when he talks about in the year 40, in the 49th year, that's when it's proclaimed about the 50th year. So what they're going to do is they're going to finish out year 49. 49 is the Shabbat. So in this year, what they're doing is they're preparing to go home. So what Yah's showing us is that even when I come and I try to get you guys to come and I tell you it's time to leave, right? I want you to be prepared. So what you and I are doing, okay, because when that time comes, you're supposed to be ready. So this is not given to us on an accident. We're not reading about the Yuval in the 50th year for no reason. This is a time that the Most High is letting us know that you will have a time of you being restored back to your family and restored back to your wealth. And it's going to be at a time that he is chosen. Okay. Now, no one knows. No one. The Jews don't even know this. And you can look up on their website or whatever. They don't even celebrate the Yovel. They don't even know when the Yovel is. And they said another reason why they don't keep it is because all 12 tribes are not there. So they know that there's more than just them. They know that. They're proclaiming to be the people, right? And so they're saying that we're the Jewish state. But if you go look on their website or go do some research, you'll find out that they don't even celebrate the Yuval because they said that everyone's not returning to all the territories, all the 12 tribes. So they're talking out of both sides of their neck. While they're constantly, going through this idea that they're going to populate the land that they're in and say that they're the people. Okay, but they don't even celebrate because they don't know. So this is something the Most High has not given to anybody to know when this time is. So he's mentioned it to us in the Torah, and we can learn from it. And so that is a time of a year, and it's going to be in the 50th year. That's when it's going to be on Yah's calendar. Okay. And he said, and it shall exist to you guys. Okay. Neither shall you sow, and neither shall you reap, for everything that grows, Savia Keha, everything that's going to sprout of its own, you're just going to let it flow. You're just going to let it flow. You're going to continue to let things flow, even in that time. Okay. And he says, for the Yovel, reading from right to left, is Kodosh. It shall be Kodosh for you. It's Kodosh. It's a set apart time for a set apart people by a Kodosh Elohim. And you shall eat from your fields, Tokalu, the Eth, the Tavuatha, the produce that came out. Now, of course, there's some rules on that because he tells you can't gather and you can't reap and you can't sow. And so they had a question, well, how do we know? How can we know what to eat? And he tells them, I'm going to give you enough for this, for 3 years. For the 6th year, I'm going to give you enough to get you through that. Okay. And then he says, and I'm going to read quickly through this, in the year of Jubilee or Yovel, there shall return each one to his possession. He just told us that again. And if you sell anything to your neighbor or buy anything from the hand of your neighbor, do not oppress them. Each other, your brother, don't do this. Okay. This neighbor right here is not really your companion. It's from your people. Is your people right there in there. That's your people. And he says, not shall you tonu. Okay. Tonu is to oppress, but hostility here, or this oppression, is dealing with a being very violent towards them and being harsh with the person that you're dealing with, and causing, and you're vexing them. You're just making things rough, meaning like it's you know, hey, you know, we know that Yovel's coming up, so you know, I just got it. I just, you know, sold it to you. You knew what time it was. You still have use of it, but now you're mad, so you don't want to give it back to me. So the Most High is saying you guys can't deal like that with each other, and especially those who are of your brother, because another means your brother. Here, your brother of your people. Okay, because we're all brothers and sisters. So I don't want you to deal with each other like this. Okay, don't do that. And he says, according to the years after the Jubilee, you shall buy from your neighbor or your people. According to the number of years of crops, you shall sell them. Because everything had to, I can't read everything, but everything had to do with the tavua, which is the crops. This is what people were selling. They were selling their use of their land for crops. So they would say, well, you know what? You know, there's 10 years until Yuval. So what I want to do, sell me the land, or let me use the land, or purchase the land from you, or for using of the land. It's not really purchasing the land, you guys, because Yah tells us the land is his, that you can only use this for 10 years to get the crops for the 10 years. So you sell it to me. If it's a few years left to Yuval, then you sell me the number of years until Yuval. Okay. But God's saying in this instance, whatever the time is, don't try to do each other dirty. Don't be oppressive to each other. Okay. If it's a high amount of years to the Yovel, then you get a higher price. If it's a lower number, then you get a lower price. And he says again, verse number 17, don't thonuish, do not do that to your people. But he says this, that you shall fear. You shall fear from me, your Elohim. You got a mem on the front of it, means from. They didn't tell us that, but it's a preposition meaning from. So the Most High is saying that what I'm asking you to do is, and you should carry out what I'm saying, because of the fear that you have from me. From me. For I am Yahweh, your Elohim. So you can't treat each other in a very oppressive way. And by the way, this oppression right here is a lot what it has to do with your mental status. Okay. How do you mentally deal with people? Because what you're doing is you're not oppressing them physically, you're oppressing them mentally. That's what you're doing. So the Most High is like, don't even do that to them. Don't cause my people to feel uneasy about anything. Because they're my people. All of you are my people. So I want you to be aware of your attitudes towards each other anytime you're doing business, because if you do that, you're going to cause some uneasiness with somebody, and you're going to cause some frustration. And I don't want that to be among my people. So we're supposed to learn from that. And so the Most High tells us that, you know, I'm Yahweh, I'm your Elohim. How many people came out of Mitzrayim? How many people did the Most High bring into the land? Just a rough estimate.
A million.
He brought about 1.8 million. These are the estimates. About 1.8 million people. Okay. So let me ask you a question. How do you get 1.8 million people to be echad. In their thinking. How can you get them? How can you get them to buy in to what you're talking about?
Fear.
Huh?
Fear.
Most High says, yeah, I've come so that you might fear me. Okay. The Most High uses one man to speak to 1.8 million people, roughly. Okay. He couldn't handle it, so he asked the Most High to provide him with leaders. Okay, which are the elders. He got that going on. He said, I need some leaders. Then he also appointed the priest, the Hagadol, the high priest, and his sons, the Kohanim. He also appointed the Lewiim. He also picked the leaders, not just the elders, the leaders of the families and the leaders of armies. Okay, so there has to be a foundation for the family of Israel that consists of people that can be trusted. So if we have strong leaders, everyone, that's how the Most High would disseminate this information. Dr. Yared, you got a lot of people underneath you. You're a CEO. You know what I'm talking about. You can't answer every single person. You have to delegate, you see? So the Most High has set up a system for us to get the buy-in. And what he's using is, he's using the leaders, but the leaders have to be able to follow the Torah. You see? It's our fathers who's supposed to be leaders in the home. That's the leaders in the home. The leaders of the community, the 12 leaders of the tribes. Then you got your elders. You see, there wasn't 12 elders, there was like 70 elders. Well, there's 12 tribes. Well, how is there 70 elders? That's what Yah chose. Then you got the Kohanim and the Lewiim. You got these individuals. So anytime they're doing their, giving out information, Most High's talking about, I need to get everybody on the same accord. So the Torah is strong enough to deal with 1.8 million people. It is. But what does it take from the 1.8 million people? The Torah is strong. The New Testament said it was weak. The Torah is strong. So what does that 1.8 million people have to do in order to be in alignment with Yah's Torah? Everybody. What are they going to have to do? First step is listen. Next step, obey. Next step is guard. And the next step is do. That's what it is. Listen, obey, guard, and do. That's what it is. That's how the Most High has to get to his people. There's not a Torah for every individual person. So the Most High is not going to change the Torah for me and then give Dr. Yared a different Torah. He's not going to give a Torah to us and then give someone else a different one. Because if you do that, you won't be a echad. You won't have that oneness that you need to have. Everybody has to be on the same frequency. The Torah only has one frequency. And that's the frequency that the 1.8 million people had to try to get on. What prevented them from getting on that frequency was what you would call their bitterness and their rebellion and their stiff-neckedness, where they didn't want to do what the Most High says. And they never have, you guys. And that's what's sad. When going through the Torah and looking at these instructions of the Most High, we say, man, this doesn't seem hard at all. What's the problem? The problem is not the Torah. The problem is the people. And that's generally the case today. Now listen what the Most High said. He said that you shall, verse number 18. Why them? Asa is right here, meaning that you shall do. Okay, not just observe, you need to do what I said. Eth what? My kukai. My kukai is my decrees, the things that have been etched and engraved in stone, so they can never be changed. Okay. And YF, what? My mishpatim, which are my judgments, how I see things. And I not only need you to do it, but I need you to guard. Tishmaru, to asit them, to do otham, to do them. Okay. And then washavtem. Okay, not shuv, shav. Shav means that you're going to sit there and you're going to dwell and sit in the land in safety. So the safety of the people is only directly connected to doing the kukothai, his kukothai, and guarding asitem this, and I see them this, and guarding them both. And performance has to be done perfectly, Otham. There's no provision for nothing else. And so that you can dwell upon the land in safety or for safety. That word safety there means to be in trust and to be in confidence. They got safety there, which is a downplay of the word, because what it is trust. Betak is trust, it's security, but it's betak. It is to trust. Meaning that you will have no cares, you'll be careless. Not to be careless, but your cares are done with. You have nothing. Yah said, I'll feed you. I'll take care of you. I'll clothe you. And you can be confident. When you have trust in something, you have confidence in it, and you know that it's going to be there. So without the observation or the doing of the kukothai or the mishpatim or the mishpatai, which is Yah's, he says, my covenant, my judgments and my statutes, if you don't do that and you don't guard them to do them, then there won't be no safety for you. Okay. So he then tells us in 19 that the land will give, because this is what the land will do. She will give the land what? Her fruit. And you will eat it until you lasava, meaning till you are full. Because that's the goal. And then you shall dwell in lavatak eleha. So my bringing you there is to fill your stomachs. Because in Hebrew, your stomach is what?
Life.
There you go. Your stomach is your life, and your life is your kai. That's what it is. It's your kai. It's a ket and a yod. It's your life. Your stomach is your life. Okay? So if you got a full stomach, you get to stay on the cycle. This circle. And you get to live here. See, what we have failed to understand is that when Yah says that you're going to live a long life, what he's talking about, everyone, is that cycle, is that you're going to go from destination to destination. And on this cycle, it could be a good cycle for you, or it could be a bad cycle for you. You know, you're going to have an end. You know, you're going to have one. You will, but the cycle won't stop, but you will stop. But on this cycle, I want to fill your stomachs. I want you to live. And the more that you do what I say, then you continue to go through the cycles of life. That's what happens. When you go through the cycles, you're literally going through the seasons. When you're going through the seasons, you're going to be able to see things and you're going to learn. You're going to learn every season. You're learning something because you're growing and you're getting older, but you're growing, and then you're continuing the cycle, and you continue that cycle with your sons and your daughters. Okay. And you're giving them in marriage, and then they're going to fill their stomachs. The cycles are continuing with your cattle, you know, and your sheep and your goats and all that. So of humans and animals, you're going to continue the cycle of the fruits and the vegetables and the grains grasses and the grains and the honey and the milk and all that. So it's the full cycle. See? And that's what the Most High is talking about, because our Elohim is an Elohim. When he said the whole earth is mine, you and I would think, well, is it, that includes the Lakers and all this kind of stuff. No, what the Most High is saying is everything that you need is on the earth, and whatever there need to be, it can be, because I provided everything for you. Okay. And so I want you to dwell in safety. And he's saying this on Har Sinai. And he says, if you say, what shall we eat in the 7th year? Because that's the question, because you cannot sow, or you can't gather any of the produce of the Tevuah Thenu. You can't bring it. So what are we going to eat? The Most High says, I will command. Listen what he's going to command. So Yah is going to do his part perfectly, and it's an appeal, it's a forceful, a blessing upon you, to you in the year of the 6th, and you shall make enough of the Tevuah for 3 years. So you'll have enough food. So you have, when you planted everything in the 5th year, you're reaping in the 6th year. Okay. So what you have what you do in the 6th year, right? You're planting for the 7th year. Okay. So the Most High is saying, okay, so you're in the 6th year. And then I told you in the 7th year, you can't do nothing. Right? So you can't plant until you get to the 8th year. Okay. So if you plant anything on the 8th year, because that's when you're going to do your planting, you're not going to get anything until the 9th year. So I got to provide enough food for the 7th year. I got to provide you enough food for the 8th year. And I got to provide you enough for the 6th year. Because you got to eat whatever you pull in the 6th, you're eating in the 7th. Whatever you pulled in the 7th, you're supposed to eat in the 8th, but you're not. So you got to go all the way through the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. And then finally, whatever you plant in the 8th, that's when you go get it in the 9th. You see? So that's the question they ask. Well, what are we supposed to do? Because you just told us that we can't go out and we can't touch nothing. And see, that bothers people. Because if that's the case, everybody, what is Yah really saying to them? Going back to our word of security. What is he saying? He's saying, I want you to trust me. I want you to put that betak on me. I want you to know that if you do what I said, I lined it up so tough, like, if you don't do what I say, then you're not going to get enough in the 7th, in the 8th. You're going to go hungry. You understand? In these years. And also in the 6th, if you didn't do what I said. So Yah is informing everybody, and he's letting us know as the descendants of these people, that when you come back to your land, understand this, people, is that I'm the one who's going to provide for you in these years. I've set everything up to make sure that you would stay full. Only if you guard, do, and obey what I said. That's it. That's it. You know, our stomachs, we're getting full right now, but we're not eating the stuff that he provided. Everyone in Israel as a nation right now are not having full stomachs, everybody. They're not. But the Most High is letting us know that I will command. I have command. Look, it's a perfect, a PL. So in his mind, he asked if you would do this, then I have commanded what? My blessing. So there's something very, very special. So he's letting us know that this is not ordinary. This is not normal, what I'm going to do. My blessing is not what you would say standard. It's not normal. It's beyond. So it's literally like a supernatural touch from the Most High that's going to happen in the 6th year. And what's going to happen by me giving it its blessing and commanding it, I'm going to command that blessing on the Tavua, and you're going to have it enough for 3 years. Now, let me ask you something. We go grocery shopping all the time. What happens to your blueberries after about a week and a half to 2 weeks?
They go bad.
Uh-huh. What happens to that that dairy that you got? You know, if you drink dairy, it goes bad. How about the lettuce and the tomatoes? Are they lasting long?
No,
Okay, so how could he give us something and say that it's going to last for 3 years?
because he's Yahweh. He speaks it and it's so.
Yes, but look at the kadoshness of it. Look, check this out. Look at what Yah says. Remember, he told the children of Israel, go out for 6 days, and on the 6th day, I want you to do what? Go collect the manna, but on the 6th day, I want you to take how much?
Enough for 2 days.
I'm going to give you a double portion. Take enough for 2 days. Now he gives a Shabbat. He says on the 6th year, I want you to do what? I'm going to give you a triple. Our Elohim is about math. He's about math. He's about math. He's about increase. His blessing has to do with multiplicity. You understand? And this is something that can only happen, okay, if we do what he says. Yah, I believe Yah is showing us how stupid people are. Our ancestors, they were dumb, you guys. He said, well, you should talk about our ancestors like the Most High. I've been reading all day today where the Most High said, you guys are dumb. Okay. It's somebody that's stupid has to not think like, okay, Yah made all this. Okay. He's the creator of the heavens and earth. You got to be a fool to be able to not understand this. This is what he's saying. Okay. Being foolish means that you're not going to consider what he says. 22 says, and you shall sow. You're going to do some sowing again. But it's not going to be in the 7th year. It's going to be in the Hashanah, which is the year of the Hashemini, okay, of the 8th year. And you're going to eat from the produce of the old until the 9th year. So you're only going to pull out from the 8th year in the 9th year. That's when you're going to harvest. Whatever you plant in the 8th year, you're not going to get it that year. You're going to get it the next year because you got to wait. Okay, so that waiting period is that which is patience, but it's also trust. Okay. Verse number 23, I'm going to try to get through this. And it says, and the land shall not be sold permanently, for the land is mine. Mine is the land. You guys are nothing but strangers and sojourners with me. That's all you are. The land is never to be sold because to me is the land. That is mine. The land is Yah's. Okay. Now this brings something else. This brings something to our attention. And he says, because you're with me, you're just nothing but strangers, you know, so you guys are just travelers. That's all you are. Okay. So if the land is mine, and I told your ancestors that I was going to give it to you as an inheritance, and I'm telling you that you're nothing but a stranger, you're a garim, and you're nothing but a watoshavim. You're somebody just passing through. You're nothing. That's all you are. So if the land is his, then what really belongs to us?
Nothing.
Okay. I think this is what when I read this, it opened my mind. So when we say our land, you know, he says, I'm going to bring you back to your soil, or what I told your fathers. The land is Yah's. Okay. There is no way that land will ever, ever, ever belong to the children of Israel. It's Yah's. We need to accept this. If we accept that this is his land, then you and I would understand what it means to live there. Okay. Because, you know, they got the term, you've heard it before, the landlord. Okay. Yah is the master and the owner of the land. Okay. It's his. So if it's his, everything in that land belongs to him. What are some of the things that are in the land? Well, we got streams, we got rivers, we got trees, we got grasses, we got it all. So, but it's not ours. We're just people that are living there, and we're supposed to be the servants and the stewards of what Yah has put in our possession. That's all you and I are. They're stewards. So as it stands today, you and I are homeless wanderers. If you and I are not brought back to his land, then you and I are going to continue to be homeless, and we're going to continue to be what they will call vagabonds. That's who we are. We're like nomads. So it shows us something. It tells us about the relationship. Okay. Let's ask the question here. If you and I don't own any land and we're just travelers and we're like nomads, right? Then let's ask this question. If we, what did Yah give to the nations? What did he give them? Does the nations, do they have land?
I would say no, they stole everything they get.
Yeah, they did. But of course, he did give the Cushites and the Hamites and all them, he gave them lands. So you are right, there are a lot of thieves. But the fact of the matter is that when Yah divided the nations, he gave everybody, listen, he gave everybody their portion. And you can find this in Deuteronomy chapter number 32. When he divided the nations, he divided them according to the number of Israel. But he made Israel his portion. When Yah says that I went out to go seek out a land, Yah chose that land for himself. And he chose it not only for himself, but he chose it so his people can live there. And so the relationship with us will never change between Yah and his people. He wants to be our Elohim. He wants us to live in his land, and he wants us to follow his laws, his Kukim, his Mishpatim, his Moedim. That's why he keeps saying his. And he also talks about his house, which is his sanctuary. So you and I are merely nothing but nomads that are lost without Yah. And if Yah doesn't take us back and he doesn't bring us back, which we know that that's not true because he said that he keeps his promises, then we would be literally nothing. We're just going to be wandering around as nomads. Yes, Akoti.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So you're saying that that Yah gave the nations their portion, but we are his portion,
Yes.
just like the Leviim had him
Yes.
in his portion, which means that we are to be priests.
That's when he says that you're going to be like Kohanim to me. Remember,
Right.
the initial conversation of the offer that was given to the children of Israel, that you would be a kingdom. So the Leviim are nothing but examples of what the intent is. That's what the Most High is saying. He's like saying, you guys don't own anything. You guys don't own anything. You can't own anything. You can't. And the reason why you can't is because I'm your master and I own everything. But you guys want to be like the nations. You want your own land where you can do whatever you want to do. You want to eat whatever you want to eat. You want to live the way that you want to live. You want to marry whoever you want to marry. You want to say whatever you want to say. You want to think the way you want to think. You want to do what you want to do. That's why I sent you to the nations. So you can see the difference between what I said and what you're doing. So I could spark something into you so you would be like, you know what, I want to go home, back home to my husband I don't want to be this idolater anymore. I don't want to be this whoremonger anymore. I don't want to be this woman. I don't want to be that disrespectful son or daughter. I don't want to be that one. I don't want to be that. I want to go back home. I want the time off. I want to give the land her Shabbats. People don't want to keep the Shabbat today. They said you don't have to. You don't have to keep the Shabbat. That's what people are saying. You don't have to keep the Moedim. That's what they're saying. Keeping it and memorializing it are literally, essentially the same thing. You have put it in your mind to say that you wanted to do this. You see, if it was the children of Israel's denial in their mind to say, we don't want to go into the land, he said, fine, you said that. And he judged them according to what they said. They said, we don't want to go in. So it was that punishment was based on what they said. So Yah holds people responsible, not only for what they do, but what they say. You're exactly 100% correct. We are like the Levi'im. We will be calling to the Most High. We will be these people. You and I will own nothing because Yah owns everything, and he's the master, and his intent is to put us back in his service to take care of the things. If the whole earth belongs to him and we're his servant, then what really belongs to us?
Nothing.
Nothing. When he has the Kohanim serving him, he says, I'm your inheritance. You guys don't even get no land. He's trying to show us something. When we're in service to Yah and we're set apart, you can't be connected to nothing. Nothing can have a hold on you. You got to be, listen, we got to be free. Listen, we got to be freed in order to serve Yah. Yah doesn't have slaves that serve him and while they're in slavery to someone else. We're his slaves. But you and I can't be in slavery to somebody else and saying we're serving Yah. That is totally contrary to what Yah has been saying. Did he not say that I brought you out of the land of Mizraim so you could be my slaves? I brought you out so you could serve me, so you wouldn't be their slaves? You can only serve Yah when you're free. Well, what are you doing? What are we doing right now then? Are we serving Yah? No. No, people don't like that because they want to be religious. But what are you doing then? We're reestablishing the relationship. We're getting to know Yah. Yah's getting to know us. Okay? Meaning like we've decided that, hey, I want a relationship. I want a relationship with you. Okay. Well, you want to come back home? Yeah, I want to come back home. Okay. Then this is what you got to do, which we'll talk about on Shabbat. These are the things that you got to do if you want to come back. Because I got to know that you're serious because your ancestors before said that they were going to do something too. So we're not going for that no more, where you can tell me 4 times that you'll do everything I said. You're not going to do 4 times now. Now you're going to be where you are and you're going to look at your situation and then you're going to have to make a determination. So we'll start right there and on verse 25 and on Shabbat, we will, if Yah is willing, we'll go ahead and finish out this Torah portion. Any questions? Sorry for keeping you over a little bit. I didn't even see the time. But that's what Yah's telling us. You can't serve me and be a slave to somebody else. You can't. You cannot. That's not going to happen. You don't own anything.